Hi, I'm Casey. This is my very first video blog, so welcome and thank you for watching. I've been feeling that it's important for me to create these videos because a lot of what I post video-wise are yoga videos or things of me traveling different places, and these videos seem kind of intense to most people. So I've been practicing yoga for about 4 years now. And I feel like I have pushed myself more in a physical practice, so asana, that's the actual posture. So that's something that really resonated with me as far as pursuing my practice, but it doesn't have to be that way. So I kind of wanted to touch on the fact that what I teach are all levels classes. I teach to brand new yogis. I teach to people who have been practicing for years. So what I don't want is for people to feel intimidated by the videos that I post, because realistically, a lot of my practice is very restorative, a lot of deep stretching, a lot of breathing, more meditative styles. A lot of what I post are those big poses, a lot of handstands, inversions, and these are all really fun and they can help you to kind of go into your body, into your breath, but they are not necessary for having a vinyasa practice or any other practice for that matter. So I kind of wanted to touch on the different styles first, okay? So what I teach is vinyasa. It's a style that I really enjoy teaching. It's like a fast-paced, more cardio-based style. So it's breath linked with the movement. So a lot of what I teach is more of a flow. You will get your heart rate up, you will sweat, but it focuses a lot on balance, flexibility, strength, relaxation. So you get a really well-rounded practice. A lot of people like it because it does get their heart rate up, so they feel like they've maybe burned calories or whatnot. I used to think of it as an exercise in the beginning, and then it kind of just opened my mind to so much deeper than that. So that is an option if you would want to take one of my classes. It's kind of what to expect. You can Google it, look it up, and kind of see a general flow. And I'll break it down in the future too in different videos, but I kind of just wanted to go through different styles. But vinyasa, for instance, like I said, I teach all levels classes, so I have a variety of students in my class. Some people have never done yoga a day in their life, and maybe they feel like my class is a little challenging, but I have had people that were challenged by it that continue coming and eventually see progress with consistency of practice. I think it's all about the mental, not allowing yourself to feel frustrated or giving up because you think it might be too difficult for you. Because realistically, rest is always available in any yoga class. It doesn't matter where you are. I encourage rest to most people. I like seeing people take rest in class because it means that they're listening to their bodies. So I think that's just a really important element to keep in mind when you approach the practice for the first time, is take it at your own pace. You don't have to compare yourself to someone in the room who might be in a full handstand or something, because that doesn't serve you. So it's kind of just starting where you are, loving your bodies exactly where they are in their practice. But sometimes we don't feel ready for vinyasa practice. Maybe we're dealing with injuries, or we're not looking for a physical type of practice. We're looking for something more maybe mental, spiritual, whatever it may be. So I'm just going to get to a couple other popular styles. So I want to go to restorative yoga. So restorative yoga is for those maybe that are dealing with certain injuries, or their bodies feel like maybe you have tight, stiff joints, or it's uncomfortable for you to be in most poses, and realistically what you want is more of a very healing, relaxing, non-strenuous practice, something that's not going to take any effort. You can just relax. So maybe if you deal with a lot of stress, anxiety, and you don't want to do anything really physical with the body as far as movement and breath, and if you want something just more gentle, more slow, okay? Restorative deals with a lot of reclined positions, so laying on your back. You use a lot of props to help support you to feeling very comfortable. So basically, when you come into restorative yoga, you're getting yourself into a pose, you're fully supported, and you're just letting yourself go. A lot of it is in the mind, okay? So some of us have a hard time being still. So for those of us that are constantly stimulated from one thing to the next, restorative yoga might actually be good for you because it's giving you the contrast to what you're doing in your everyday life. So I would highly recommend restorative to many people because you're not just restoring the body, you're restoring the mind, your energy, your spirits. So there's so much that goes into play with restorative yoga. It's not just laying on your back like a big nap time, although it is. You can enjoy it for that as well. You hold poses for long periods of time because it's not strenuous. You're not feeling pressure on your joints. You're not activating your muscles. It's very passive. It's very relaxing. So you're clearing out the headspace. You're coming into that meditative, clear mind. And you're just letting everything else go. And when you get out of these poses, your body just feels really open because you're nurturing, you're taking care of it, you're allowing it to relax and let go in a way that's not harmful to the body. So very, very healing practice. If this is something you're interested in, there are plenty of restorative classes out there waiting for you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me as well. I want to separate the difference between restorative yoga and then yin yoga, okay? So yin yoga focuses on the opening of the connective tissues in the body. It can deal a lot with your internal organs, the emotional body. So once again, very meditative practice, and you might see a lot of similarities with the poses between restorative and yin. But in yin, you do want to feel intensity. It's a passive intensity. So I like to give this kind of description when I'm explaining yin. So imagine you're laying in bed at night and you have that position where your legs kind of butterfly, and maybe you're hanging out here for a while, you're watching TV, and let's say 20 minutes passes and you start to get yourself up, and as you get up, you try to lift your legs and it's just like, oh, hurts so good, but you start to feel that intensity through the hips from just laying there passively for a long period of time. So that's how I can kind of best describe what yin yoga is. It's letting go, but in a way where you are putting a little bit of tension or resistance into whatever pose you're in. So maybe it's into the hips or the spine or the shoulders, neck. So there's lots of different areas where you can release. But it's passive. So it's disengaging your muscles, and you usually hold for about 3 to 5 minutes passively. You can use props and whatnot, and it does feel very intense. So you're constantly playing on your edges. So maybe you come to your first edge and you're breathing really fully, and then you feel your body kind of open up even just slightly, and then you kind of move into that next edge. And over time, connective tissue opening is where you will find the most flexibility. So this is like all the webbing of the entire body. So it holds on to a lot of emotions. So it can be a really emotional practice, very mental, because once again, you're holding poses for a lengthy amount of times, and you're letting go. It's a very still practice, focusing on the breath. So the breath is the key element in every single practice that you do. And they may teach different breathing techniques for each class that you go to. And I think it's important to be able to really draw that awareness in to be able to fully tap into the practice. So that's kind of how I would describe yin. Connective tissue, you're strengthening through the joints, ligaments and tendons. It's a deeper level of practice, and I think it perfectly complements a vinyasa practice, which is working more into the muscles of the body, and strengthening. So you always want to work balance, like I said, especially if you are focused on one thing to the next all day long and you're constantly stimulated. Learn how to slow down. Or maybe if you feel very stagnant and you spend a lot of time sitting, you want something that's going to heat you up, you're going to feel more energized, kind of feel that energy in your practice, and maybe vinyasa is good for you. So then the in-betweener, okay? Hatha yoga. So hatha is, to me, a lot like a vinyasa practice, except it's not so much linking breath and movement. So it's not so flowy. I personally like the flowy. It's a very dancey, rhythmic type of sensual connection to self practice. Hatha is more about the poses themselves, breaking it down in a slow manner rather than the transitions or the connectors between each pose. So you get yourself into a pose, you might feel a lot of intensity learning how to engage, learning the proper alignments, and then maybe you come into that next pose, okay? So maybe you do less poses, you might not have like sequencing repeating itself over and over, but it is also very intense, but open to all levels, especially beginners. I think Hatha is a great place to start for people who are open to the idea of more movement, but not quite ready for a vinyasa practice. Hatha to me is a very traditional practice. It's what a lot of people are familiar with. And so I would highly recommend that. And the only other recommendation I'm going to come to, and I know there's plenty of other styles out there, so I'm leaving a lot out, but these are to me very core practices. So the other one I want to bring up is Iyengar. So Iyengar yoga is very alignment based, and this one is going to sound a lot like Hatha, but it's very much more broken down. It's almost like a workshop of coming into a pose and then working overall alignment of the body so that you're really activating, you're knowing how to keep that proper alignment. And for me, this is the key. If you're going to come into any vinyasa practice, especially where you're flowing, you don't have much time to stop and really check in with the body's alignment. Okay, so you only have so much time to really activate, engage, and to properly stack the spine, open the shoulders, and do what you need to do to really fully embody that pose. So Iyengar to me is a breakdown. So how to open up, how to elongate, where to find space, even the rotations through the legs, the arms, the shoulders. There's so much involved into the actual physical body and every single movement. I have never felt so connected to self as to when I learned Iyengar and how to bring my awareness to certain parts of my body to feel different movements and to feel different sensations. And once I was able to open up into that, I could really bring it into every single practice, or even outside of my practice, into daily life, as to how to bring more awareness into all aspects of what you're doing. So of course there's going to be like hot yoga, and I'm sure you maybe have heard of Bikram. There's Ashtanga, very traditional, more intense, almost a lot like a vinyasa practice. There's so many different practices out there, aerial and acro, and you can look all these things up and they're all lots of fun. But if you're looking to start and you're kind of confused because there's so many things, or maybe you've had a first bad experience, maybe it's a teacher that you felt that you didn't really resonate with and you have bad taste in your mouth from what yoga is, or maybe you had an injury that was related to yoga because it was due to a lack of awareness of how to align your body. And you know, I've heard so many different stories about yoga being a bad practice, and I think it's all just so relative to what that first practice was for you. So I would highly recommend not to give up. Go out there and try something, try different teachers, different classes, and I can definitely assure you that there is something out there that you will completely resonate with if you are open to receive the message of yoga. I want to create these videos on a weekly basis, touching on different subjects, and I'd love your feedback. So if you could let me know if there's anything that you would personally like to hear about, or if there's any way that I can help better serve you in your practice, I would love to be able to do that for you. So once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you got something out of it, and if you didn't, maybe pass it along to someone who will. And hope to see you next week. Thank you. Namaste.